Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the WTFinance podcast, where we talk to experts to help gain a greater understanding about what is happening in the world of finance.
Stop.
Oh, sorry.
I'm not an expert, bro. No, you're gonna keep it in. But did you just call me an expert?
I called you an expert.
All my picks are down like 20%, like 20% on a good day.
You're probably doing better than most hedge funds at the moment. Mate.
I should have an inverse fund of all my picks. I'm the anti-expert. I don't know what I'm talking about. Let's make it clear. You can continue.
We'll have to get Kathy Woods on next.
They should ship me, Kathy Wood, and Jim Cramer to an island and have like a death to the battle. Who comes on top?
Oh my God, that'd be amazing to see. Just everyone continues to lose. Like, you have to make money to.
Nobody can get a pick right, bro.
That'd be great. Well, as you can see on the podcast today, we're welcoming Tom Nash, who's a Palantir evangelist, a Lada lover, and also a Amit hair hater.
And Tom, also a Lada lover. Like, you know, you can also a Lada lover. There's a lot. Lover. Yeah, a Lada lover.
Yeah. I didn't even think about that. If anyone doesn't know, this
podcast is going off the rails like in the first minute, bro.
Well, 2 minutes in, fuck you know. Yeah. A Lada is a Russian car, which is where you're from, isn't it? Russia, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So they're the best car in the world. So they're sort of challenging Bugattis at the moment.
They are the best cars in the world, bro. By the way, if there's like an EMP attack, they can still drive. Like there's nothing electrical in them.
They have like a little like nuclear reactor in the
No, there's nothing. Like, there's no power windows, no power steering, no computer. It's like old school, like Henry Ford style engines, bro.
It's like the Soviet Union. It's literally like the representation of the Soviet Union.
And the ones they sell now, they look identical to the ones my grandpa bought in 1987. There's nothing changed. Identical interior, identical exterior. It's like it's a time capsule. It's so good. Like, you think I'm kidding, but if you own a Lada Niva, you would never own another car again. It's like a man's car.
Yeah, they're like you know, like the Toyota Hilux, how it's known like never to break. I'm guessing the Lada's
the only car that I would ever consider betraying Lada for is a Hilux between the years 88 and 97.
Yeah,
like in those new Hiluxes, they're toys. I don't want one, but like the Hilux from the late 80s, like 90s. Oh man, those are indestructible cars, and I know for a fact some of the best. Like, they're the amazing 4x4s, bro. They'll go anywhere.
Yeah, I remember Top Gear did the thing where they tried to destroy it. I don't know if you've seen that.
You cannot destroy it.
They put it on top of a building and they blew up the building, and they still brought it back to life.
There was a YouTube channel. I think it's called the Whistling Diesel. And he tried to destroy one, and eventually they couldn't, and they took it on they strapped it to a helicopter and they dropped it from the sky. That's the only way they could destroy it, bro. And literally, they tried like for a few days. They couldn't.
Oh my God.
The radiator got punctured. It was still driving, like crazy shit, bro. Like, they took it up the fucking mountain, and all the like professional 4x4s started breaking down one by one. This shit, like, no problem, bro.
And you wouldn't get a Lucid.
What's a Lucid? Is this a car?
Lucid, the car.
I've never heard of it. I've never seen one on the road.
You never seen one?
Is there one on the road? Can you show me a Lucid on the road, bro?
It's like a fairy tale that you hear. You hear about these things that you never see.
Lucid is like Bigfoot. It's like really impressive, but I've never seen one.
Yeah, with $30 billion valuation.
Yeah, but the package for the CEO is really, really nice.
Yeah. He's done pretty well.
He's getting like $1 million a car based on my calculation.
It's not too bad. Anyway, we better
cost of goods are getting fucked, bro. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, the Saudis like, oh shit, we're paying him $1 million a car. Oh wow.
They probably don't even realize spend so much on their mansions and paintings and anything. Well, anyway, we better get back to the action. I've got some questions here, if you can believe it. So I feel like there's
change the name to Murky. Instead of the Lucid Air, the Murky Fart.
dear.
Okay.
Running on hot air.
Just my opinion. According to my opinion.
So you could run one then if you're just running on the hot air that comes out. I could probably run one as well. Hot air coming out of our mouths all the time. Jim Cramer maybe as well.
Lucid is the Jim Cramer of cars. Okay, let's talk serious. Okay, I'll stop being a clown. Let's go.
Oh no, that's right. You can be a clown. I was actually going to say that we need some positivity in the world of fintechs. You know, I've been looking around your videos, everyone else, it's all negative, doom and gloom, inflation. So I guess, is there anything?
Mine isn't about the market. I was doom and glooming about the way the politicians are fucking behaving, bro.
Yeah,
I'm fucking fed up with this bullshit. It's like things are bad. I get it, but like, stop lying to us. Can you just fucking tell us the truth? Tell us what's actually going on. And if you don't have a solution, just tell us, hey, we don't know what's going to happen. Like, own up. I feel like it's not happening right now. It's basically because they know that the people who will get fucked the most, the ones who don't have a rich lobby, the ones who don't have a voice, the ones who can't basically say anything. So eventually inflation will pass at some point. But the small businesses will get annihilated. The households that are on the brink of default will get fucked. The people who get social security and the disability and everything, they don't get fair indexing, which means they get fucked. But you know, how much was the last raise they voted on? 20%. So they get 20% raises. Jerome Powell gets a new job. Janet Yellen, I don't know, whatever the fuck she's doing. I have no idea what her job description is, bro. Like, yeah, just a clown show.
Yeah. Well, I think Jay Powell's the only person, because I listened to an interview the other day and he said, like, there's nothing we can do about inflation. We just have, all we can do is basically destroy demand. And he's the only person. Is this
the same motherfucker who said this was transitory?
Yeah.
Well, fuck him then. He was up there for a year, bro, fucking trying to convince me that his penis wasn't in my ass, bro. No, it's just a tip. No, my guy, I can feel it. It's like, it's ridiculous. Like, you think you cannot, you can print 40% of the money ever printed in the US in the span of 18 months, send people out into the world like wild animals with hordes of cash at a time when you don't have any goods to sell because complete shortages, and you like expect, oh yeah, there's not going to be any inflationary pressures. Inflation is going to, it's fleeting, it's transitory. I mean, that shit was like, if I asked this in my video today, if I was working at any business and I made such a cardinal mistake for my boss, you know, I completely led everybody into this fucking dumpster fire of a situation for a whole year. I was like, don't worry, this is for sure not this and that and that. And I completely fucked up. What organization would keep me at my job or rehire me? Name one, bro, that isn't the US government. Like, how the fuck does this guy have a job after what happened? Not because he got it wrong, because it's okay. He got it wrong. He should go home. There's absolutely no accountability at any level of the government. So they can have their little 8.6%, which is a complete fabrication of a number. It's bullshit, bro. And everybody knows it. And they keep getting the raises. They can get the cushy jobs. And they talk about how bad things are, but they go back to the mansions and people fucking can't afford gasoline and fucking food. That pisses me off. Not the stock market, to be honest.
Yeah. And now you look at where we are, it's literally an impossible situation because inflation's so high. I was listening to a podcast and they're saying that normally with this amount of inflation, we should have interest rates 10%, which we can't have. So higher.
Go and Google. There's the benchmark. The guy is actually still alive, by the way. There's a guy, his name is a Taylor. He coined this Taylor rule. He's still alive. You can interview him on the show. He'll tell you. So you take base, which is 2. You take current, which is, let's say, 8.6. It's a lie, bro. Let's say 8.6. Let's go with him, right? So you're at 6.6. That's the delta is 6.6. You multiply it by 2, and you get what the rate should be right now, which is 13.2%. This is like, assuming inflation was 8.6, which it's not. Scoop, hint. The rate should have been 13%. But as you mentioned, Anthony, their ability to go up to 13% interest is literally the same as me dunking a basketball naked, bro, on a 12-foot rim. It's not gonna happen ever, bro.
Yeah, because they keep mentioning Volcker, who's obviously the Fed chair in the 80s, who put interest rates up to 12%. But there's just so much more debt now, which is the main issue. Not just, I don't think the issue is the public debt. The issue is really the private debt.
The issue is also the government.
Yeah.
Volcker had Reagan with him. So Volcker, when he started out, he had Jimmy Carter, the only president that gives Mr. Biden a run for the worst president of all time. Kind of, if we do like the reverse GOAT of presidents, it's him and Carter. So when Carter got fired, essentially, yeah. So he got Reagan, and when Reagan stepped in, they basically work in tandem. Like interest rates alone are not going to help you. Now you mentioned correctly, yes, the debt wasn't 1.5 times our GDP, which it is right now, which is insane. By the way, our national debt has doubled in the last 5 years. Doubled. It's 1.5 times our GDP. By the time we hit 2045, we're going to be paying 10% of our GDP just on interest, even at these low rates. So if he had Reagan, so Reagan basically played ball. Playing ball means you got to create tax revenue to pay for this shit. Otherwise, you print more money and you basically send an inflationary cycle into the economy again. So, but the problem is it's counterintuitive and it's not popular. If you want to create tax revenue, you have to reduce taxes. That's the crazy part. It's like when you drive and you try to slide the steering wheel, you have to counterintuitively turn the wheel to the other end.
We try drift, yeah.
Exact drift. Sorry, I don't know the English terms.
That's right.
It's the same thing. You have to reduce taxes to increase tax revenue. And I'm not. If I know there's some people on the liberal side who think like, oh no, no motherfucker. It's exactly how it works. There's this curve. It's called the Laffer curve, and the Laffer curve shows you like if increasing tax rates does not increase tax collections beyond the optimal point. If you reduce tax rates, you actually increase collections because a lot of these multinationals who are now incentivized to go to Ireland and Hong Kong and do these elaborate multinational tax plannings and basically shift profits away from the US taxpayers, they'll be incentivized to come back because at a certain point when taxes are low enough, there's a risk management decision for the CEOs and the board, basically, well, do I really want this elaborate, aggressive position that I might have to litigate and defend, where I can just go to the States, pay a little bit more than paying here, but be 100% of the safe side. There's going to be a lot of CEOs who are going to bring back activity to the US if you do that. And you would not have to chase them. Like right now, they're trying to scare them into submission. Like, bring the money back or else, right? If you raise, so that's what happened. Like Reagan deregulated everything, reduced taxes, and basically sent the market into an explosion. So this government, I don't think, is able to do it because for them to say reduce taxes, it's blasphemy. Deregulate, oh, it's even worse for them, bro. They love regulation. So that's the problem, is he doesn't have a partner. It has to work with the government. Interest rates on their own in isolation is just not enough.
Yeah, and if you look at the 80s as well, there were so many positive trends, as you mentioned there, deregulation, which led to globalization, positive demographics in terms of a lot of these baby boomers coming into the markets to increase production, reduce wage inflation, all this stuff. But we're almost at the complete opposite spectrum, deglobalization, people actually coming back to the US. We haven't even mentioned climate change, conversion to renewable energies, but really old, let's be honest, poor demographics, people aging. So it's literally like the perfect storm to go the other way and for inflation to continue for a long term.
Well, they will stop inflation, but the problem, the way they're going, because they cannot do what Volcker did with Reagan, they have to smash demand. How do you smash demand? You basically bring the economy to the brink of collapse and then stop at the last second. The victims in this method, as I mentioned in my video today, will be the poorest and weakest. And they'll pay the price for this move. And that's okay as long as you say it. As long as you say, hey guys, we don't have a choice. We have to destroy demand, which means we have to put the economy in a toilet house. And a lot of people are going to get fucked, mainly the poor. But they won't say it. They won't be level with you and they won't say it. They'll sugarcoat it. And that's where I get pissed off.
You almost see it could be similar to 2008. We're looking at the tech companies. So many of them are laying off people, like Coinbase just today. Amazon's not recruiting people. So we could see it like in 2008 as well.
Tesla had an announcement about freezing hires and laying off 10% of non-manufacturer employees. I mean, everybody's talking about freezing hires. So this is the result of what's happening right now. This is the effects. So if you're going for economic destruction, there's absolutely no need for you to do what Volcker and Reagan did. All you got to do is basically reduce consumption. So how do you reduce consumption? If everybody has a job, you remember how like 6 months ago, wage inflation was up? Like they were saying, oh, it's only 6%. No, it's much. Like people getting bonuses, raises, like this was peanuts, like insane wage inflation. And like McDonald's were giving out an iPhone. Like truck drivers were getting like 130, 140,000 in to come to work. And by the way, I have no problem with truckers getting paid. I think they deserve to get paid quite a lot. But I'm saying like everything went up. So right now, we're looking at the opposite. All of a sudden, we're looking at people thinking about, oh shit, job security. That's a thing. I don't know if I'll have a job in 6 months. So I might not want to buy this new TV or this new house or this new car or whatever. So they're basically trying to scare the market into slowing down demand and consumption for goods and services, so the prices come down. And again, it's not a bad method, but they're playing with people's lives. So unfortunately, I wouldn't say it's 100% the fault of the government. I mean, inflation was not caused by the government, but inflation is a global phenomenon. If you go to any country right now in the world, you see massive inflation. That's because, the pandemic basically caused us to these massive supply chain shortages, massive underproduction in the world. However, why is it the worst in the US out of them all by far? Well, I'm not talking about Turkey and shit. Like that's a whole different enchilada, right? But within the Western circle, why is US having it much, much worse than everybody else? Is because at the same time, the idea was, okay, so shortages, there's not enough goods, blah, blah, blah. But we cannot let people get laid off. So we're going to give everybody a lot of money. So they spend. So there's not going to be any layoffs. So the companies still make money and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it worked for 2 years. But now it made inflation much worse, which is destroying profit margins for these companies because now they're paying much more for cost of goods and cost of services. And now their margins are getting fucked. And the first thing what you're doing when your margins is getting smaller, you fire people. So all they did is basically delay the inevitable. And now, on top of it all, we have the worst inflation problem in the West. So giving away money, I guess, wasn't the best solution. Surprise.
And then now we've got interest rates, QT, all the stuff happening right now. It's pretty scary to think. Like, it's quite plausible that the Fed could raise rates 75 basis points, potentially 100 basis points, which is crazy.
I don't think they'll do 100. I don't think they'll do 100. No, they'll probably do 0.5%.
You don't think they'll push it up after? Because I think they were thinking that it had hit the peak, I think, and now they can, it's gone up again, another step.
It's either 0.5 or 0.75.
Yeah,
in that range, but they usually tend to be a little bit more conservative in the way they apply. They'll stock a big game and then eventually they'll push the button a little bit lower. So I think it will be 0.5, but it might be 0.75. In fact, if I say it's going to be 0.5, like 80% chance it's 0.75.
The Tom Nash inverted.
Yes. If Tom Nash says it's 0.5, you better run for the hills.
Oh dear, scary times ahead. So back to my first question. Is there anything, I know we mentioned politics and the Fed and how they've been doing bad stuff. Is there anything positive, I guess, in terms of the markets or anything else, any companies you're looking at or anything like that you're, maybe positive about in the short term?
So I'll tell you two things, Anthony. Number one is I keep going back and talking to people about this amazing article I read. I think I mentioned this already 5 or 7 times in the past 2 weeks. There's this phenomenal blog on Substack. It's called Market Sentiment. I don't know if you're familiar with it or not.
Yeah.
It's not super, super popular, but they write some of the best shit on the internet. And they have a piece called Buy the Dip. And in that piece, I don't know if you had a chance to read it or not, but you can actually take a look after the show. They're doing the statistical analysis of how different behavioral approaches to investing panned out post 2000 .com crash, 2008 subprime crash, and the mini crash in 2020 pandemic, and how three different people with three different ideologies, methodologies have worked out from the 2000 until 2022 combined. And the three approaches are: get out of the market, stay in cash until things get better, stay in the same stock you are, but do not increase your position. And the third one was DCA into good companies. So obviously you shouldn't expect the answer. DCAing into good companies was exponentially better than any other option, but it's a little bit misleading because it has one assumption, which is, I think, the most critical part of DCAing. Everybody knows DCAing into good companies in weakness of market macro is the good approach. But the problem is, if you know that statistically 80% of companies right now will not be here in 5 years post this crash, how do you find those 20%? This is what I'm excited about right now. This is where I know that, and I had yesterday on my show, I had Patrick by David. I don't know if you had a chance to watch that interview. And I was kind of picking his brain because he kind of shares my sentiment that the next couple of years are going to be a festival. It's going to be a shopping spree. All these cheap companies are going to be up there for grabs. But we know that 8 out of 10 will not be here in 5 years. But the 2 out of 10 that will remain are going to Amazon the fuck out of the next decade, because it's going to be an open market. A lot of the competitors are gone. Money's not so cheap, et cetera, et cetera. So the conditions are completely different. So finding those 20% is where I'm super excited right now. This is all my energy recently, is just trying to figure out which one of these is the survivor. And I've developed this kind of system where I'm looking for the perfect company as far as to get up. So the idea here is I'm not concerned so much about the stock prices at all, because they be whatever they be. I don't care. I'm concerned about the business. Which businesses will survive QT, as you mentioned? Which businesses will survive a credit crunch? Which businesses would supply reduction in margins, reduction in demand, reduction in basically spending, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the way I look at it is like there's this very simple way that I analyze companies right now. So my perfect company to fit this profile would be a company with extremely high pricing power, which means their product cannot be discretionary by definition. It should be, because if you have high pricing power, that means a lot of these costs will get rolled over. Number two, it has to be a company with decent and above margins, because some of this inflationary spike you'll have to absorb. You have to have the cushion to be able to do it. You can't roll over 100% of inflation on clients. Well, you can if you're like the oil companies, but anything else is like you can. Number three is how much capital intensive is the company. So how much capital they need to operate on a daily basis, because capital is about to get fucking scarce, my guy. People don't remember, in times of crisis, banks are like fucking tight ass as fuck, bro. There's no money coming out, and the little that is, it's so fucking expensive. Whether it's in the same thing in the equity market, if you're trying to raise round A, round B, round C, whatever the fuck round you, like when in tight markets, people are not giving away money like candy like they used to. So I'm looking for a company that doesn't require a lot of capex. Like, for example, I think like infrastructure, like construction, companies like airlines. But by the way, airlines have shit pricing power, shit margin, and lots of capital. Like they're the worst inflationary stock ever, bro, to think of, or recession, right? Airlines is like the worst of them all. So capital has to be minimal to operate. It has to have low financial risk, as far as if you, in case they need money, so the money could be made available. If you have low financial risk, hence, like for example, like sustainable, consistent free cash flow at 15 to 30%, high cash, low debt. So that means low financial risk. That means it's low financial risk basically means survivability. Basically, they're not going to go bankrupt, but also access to capital. And the final part is I'm looking to correlation almost zero for energy prices and commodity prices, because those are about to spike like a fucking Russian teenager's penis in a Thailand whorehouse in the next year, bro. So this is above 18, of course, everything we're saying. Yeah. It's not a kid show. So I just want to be clear about it. Or 21, whatever state you are in. It's just a joke. It's a joke. It's a joke.
I told you not to mention that.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Don't tell us what you do on the weekend. Come on.
No, it was. I was just repeating your story that you told me off air. Okay. Anyways, so I just described Palantir to you. Like when I did this analysis, I wasn't thinking about Palantir, but I was like, when I did this list, I was like, oh shit, like Palantir would fit right in, Tesla would fit nicely in, because like Tesla, they have discretionary products, right? That's the way would you say, well, it's not necessity. Well, if oil prices are high and gasoline prices are high and electricity is much, much cheaper, then there's a big demand for electric vehicles, and they hold about 66% of the US EV market. So so Tesla is like it's there, but I think Palantir, for me, they check every box. Massive deal flow, 3.5 billion of unfulfilled contracts, 2.5 billion of cash, no debt, 30% free cash flow margin, sustainable, consistent over the past few years. Government business is 60% of their 60% of their business. It's pretty much guaranteed. Even with what's going on now, dude, it's gonna grow. Like Europe is gonna jump in, Japan, like you saw the tweets. Like, so government, like 60% of the business is guaranteed. The other 40% has a 3.5 million backlog of things they haven't done yet, and they have a net retention of 124%. Top 20 clients are paying $45 million per year for this shit, which is like a 25% increase from last year. So their top 20 clients are paying now 25% more, paying almost 15 million a year. So I had this guy on my own channel, and he's like a BI guy. And I'm not a BI I don't know nothing about business intelligence or IT or nothing. I'm just a numbers guy. And I showed him the presentation that Palantir have with the Skywise, how they show how it works and everything. And he was a super nice guy. I like him a lot. But he was like, yeah, you can do everything you see here with like a simple stuff existing in the market. I don't see what's unique about it. It looks like, I don't see it. And then I told him, listen, I don't know how BI works. I have zero understanding in the mechanics of it. But I look at the financials and I see something very, very simple. If motherfuckers are getting paid $50 million per year by their top 20 clients, and $1.5 billion a year from all clients, and it's growing by 30% per year, and there's a net retention of 124%, I don't think people would pay for something that doesn't fucking work, or you can do for cheaper and simpler. It's just common sense to me. The numbers, they tell the whole story for me. I don't need to see the software to see that motherfuckers are paying for this shit. Now, I feel like there's a like, especially for if you're an industry insider, I understand where he was coming from, but I told him on air, it's like, yes, you can drive to your work in a Maybach, or you can drive in the Lada Niva. It's definitely a car. Both of them are cars, but it's a very different experience. It's going to take you different amounts of time, different gas consumption, different comfort levels, different, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I feel like this needs to be settled. So what I did is I invited CodeStrap. I don't know if you're familiar with him. I'm going to do like a face-off between him and CodeStrap on air, and I'm going to moderate the debate. And they're going to go like the technical geeks are going to go at each other to see if they can come up with something interesting. So, and I'm going to be there as the human being who does not understand geek and try to get some sort of human language going out of this, like the optical OCP3 hashtags, doorways that they interconnect with the, with the Anus protocol.
I was gonna say it's literally all gonna go over my head if I listen to that. I'm like, yeah.
I have no idea what I just said, bro.
Just zoned out. The Russian came out of you. The technical side of things.
I'm just making random shit up. And then they're gonna say, "Oh, Tom Nash does these podcasts drunk." Bro, I haven't done any podcast drunk ever. I'm just drinking water.
Okay, whatever you say. Just straight vodka. Be honest to the people. Be honest. Come on, we know.
No, it's water, bro. I don't like people think like, oh, because I'm Russian and we have all these jokes, like, oh, Tom drinks a lot. I don't drink, like that's something I learned from my dad. I never drink when I'm sad or unhappy. And I never drink alone. The only times I drink and then I really like enjoy it is when I'm happy with company, like if we're celebrating like a big football win or something. Like anything else, like I mean, I don't really drink to have, I don't need to be intoxicated to have fun. I have a very kind of, I feel like naturally drunk all the time. God bless me with this, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, no problem there.
You might have that thing in your stomach where it like produces beer and you just, I don't know if you've heard of that.
If this was a thing, bro.
Oh it actually is. It actually is where people like, they're always drunk because their stomach produces yeast that turns into alcohol.
Bro, I think anyway. I might have that shit. I feel like it solved so many questions in my past, bro.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, yeah. I've just diagnosed you, Tom, if anyone can. But let's go. If we go to Palantir, so I know you mentioned it there. It's you're obviously very high conviction on the company. I was talking to someone on another podcast and I mentioned Palantir and they're like, what is it? Like, when I think of it, I think of Skynet and it's just going to take over the world and kill us all. But how would you explain Palantir and what it does?
It's a business intelligence software that allows companies to make better decisions using their own information in a easy to understand, accessible way to present their massive amounts of data from different siloed databases into one single like ontology. I guess. I don't know. I'm not a technical guy, but basically, imagine like so. Okay, in the presentations that I saw and I showed to my friend, the one I told you about, we did like the little podcast together. What I've seen was pretty remarkable. So they'll take a bunch of pieces of information that exist but do not really communicate with each other. So for example, if you are like in Skywise example, if you're an airline, so they'll take data from the warehouse, the scheduling department, the maintenance, and like I think there's every flight generates 2 million data points. So from every single flight, from every single supplier that works with the airline in question, for every single subcontractor who works with the airline, and they'll put this all in one database that allows you to make better decisions. And there's a lot of good examples there about how it works, but essentially do things like preventative maintenance on airplanes to prevent shutdowns on airplanes on the ground, prevent fines, prevent late fees, and manage inventories in a much more efficient way so you don't have dead inventory and expirations, et cetera, et cetera. Manage scheduling in a more efficient way. So basically, it allows companies to take all this massive amounts of data and get to smarter decision making without having to employ a data scientist at every single corner of the company to do that with the, like this guy said, oh, I can do that with an Excel spreadsheet and et cetera, et cetera. Sure, if you have like 100 data scientists working for a company, you can probably build something similar, but this is kind of a platform that's just, it's automated. You just plug it in 6 weeks later or whatever, after they set it up, you basically does its own thing. Now, where I was convinced by that completely is I spoke to a guy who I reached out to him on Reddit. He was a user of the platform. He was working for a supplier for one of the airlines that work with Skywise. And he said since he started being like a user on Foundry, he says that he's been buying nonstop Palantir shares. He says, I've never seen anything like this. And I guess the skepticism is in place because, like Dave Lee said when I interviewed him, you, unlike a Tesla, you can't sit in a Palantir and feel how much it's better than what's in the market right now. But I urge you to go and look at the financials and just see how impressive their clientele growth is, the margins, the cash flow. You can criticize their stock-based compensation policy. Don't invest, no problem. I think that's the right thing to do, especially when you're trying to get literally the top 1% of talent. And I think Alex Karp is a terrific CEO. He's not the best communicator. I think the numbers don't lie. The company has, look, its balance sheet, it looks so good. It can date a Kardashian and still have an NBA career like 5 years later, bro. It's just clean as fuck, bro.
It's not Ben Simmons.
No,
or maybe.
I know. It's just impressive what they've been able to do. And the fact of the matter is that their biggest mistake was, I think, there's a little bit of hubris there. I don't know if you feel it when you hear Alex speak. I feel this hubris. Like, oh, like we're so much better than everybody else. We don't need to try hard, etc., etc. It's like when I say try hard, I mean in sales. So Alex, for years, and this is their biggest sin, is like this shit is gonna sell itself. So it gotten to the point where they wouldn't even like intentionally hire salespeople. These motherfuckers didn't have a sales department up until like 2019, 2020. I don't know, like just like 2 years ago. Now this worked with the government because, I mean, it's fine. You can, Alex can probably get it done on his own. It worked with like the Airbuses of the world. But when you're going down the list into the Fortune 500s and you want to compete in enterprise software, you can't do it without relationships, without managing clients, without like a proper sales force. So they started scrambling, building a sales force from scratch, which takes like 5 years to build a proper sales force. I mean, like, honestly, even in a strong company, until you get a proper sales force, you weed out all the bad people, the good people stay, they get experience, they learn the product, they create relationships, they create networks. It takes years, bro. So they're at like year 3 of their sales force, year 2, I don't remember. And still they have 136% growth on commercial clients in the US year over year. I cannot help by being impressed by that, knowing that they're doing this it's like they're playing basketball with their left hand, with one hand tied behind their back, and they're still killing it, bro.
Yeah. And I think if anyone's worked in like a big company, like I've worked at like a supermarket, one of the biggest in the UK for quite a while. There's just so many inefficiencies. You just look at it that, you sign into account, you sign into 10 different bloody systems about 10 different things that don't interact with each other, and you can't see anything. And I think that's very common, and especially a lot of these older businesses that have these legacy systems where they spend more money.
Yes.
Especially in like
this is their biggest competitor. What you just said right now, perfect. The bloated existing IT BI systems in corporate America are their biggest problem. Because, like, imagine you're the guy who built this shit, and I come in through the door and say, hey, listen, everything you built, like, it's just flagging. Like, there's a better system here, and it will do what you're doing right now with 7 different pieces of software with one at half the time, and it will be much more efficient and will cost you a fraction of what you're paying right now for this bloated system. Now, not a lot of people would let their ego accept such a thing, and that's why they're getting a lot of pushback. And as you know, like in big corporations, like if you can't get if you have like a point of contact and you don't have like you can't create a relationship, nobody in the company will ever talk to you, bro, if he says no. And that's I think they need to be more gentle with that. They need to slowly start creating the relationships, offering little features, little freemiums to let people taste the software, so that what you're saying, because right now they're just barging through the door, basically. Yeah, just this has to go. Everything has to go. Like, this is much better. Like, it creates automatic antagonism from existing management. Like, what the fuck? I mean, this thing works. Why? You know what I mean? You've seen this play out before.
It reminds me of, you could say Elon Musk, he's like that, but he's not selling to businesses, he's selling to consumers. So you can maybe do it that way. But if you're selling to businesses, there's the politics, there's everything else involved. If you tell them they're wrong, they're just going to say, oh, okay, see you later.
Yeah, because there's the politics in the enterprise software segment in the US, which is the most crowded, competitive, cutthroat industry in the world, the politics play a huge game, bro. You have to be very strategic. And even if you have a terrific product, you gotta really be smart about the way you approach it. Because as you mentioned, like you can't come into like a massive company and say, hey, you guys have no clue what the fuck you're doing. It's like, and I feel like that's when you hear Alex talk, I feel that his attitude is like that, and it's sipping down to the way they do their own biz dev, and I think that has to change. That's the biggest flaw, in my opinion. That's something that has to change right now.
Yeah, I was talking to someone recently, and they were saying that they worked for a big bank in the UK, and yeah, most of it's legacy systems, and the only like he's trying to retire, but he can't because no one else actually knows how to use it. So he retires, and they keep offering him a job. So I guess that's the challenge as well, that these people might just be employed for that. But
if I was him, I would ask for like 5 million or something, bro.
Yeah. It's like, if you don't pay me, this whole system collapses.
You'll pay me, and my job will be to sit at home and not tell what I know about you.
Yeah, that wouldn't be bad. It's like all this AI stuff you're talking about is bollocks, basically.
I ripped it off from Fight Club. This was a scene from Fight Club.
Oh yeah,
where Ed Norton is telling to his boss, "It's like you're gonna pay me whatever, and my job will be to sit at home and not tell people what I know about this company."
Yeah, that's a great
brilliant
scene.
writing, bro. Brilliant writing.
We won't mention Amit's opinion on that matter.
He's an idiot, bro. He's an idiot.
Well, I said that if you work in a corporate for 10 years, then you can that's when you really understand
what it's all about, bro. Yeah. He's a kid. He's never been through this office, I call it personality graveyard.
Yeah.
It's like you become a drone, and it's like I once I hated this. I worked for like a big company in the US, and I think there was one lady who was working there, and she came in with these shoes, and it has these little like circular things on the shoes, and I said, it looks like a fucking it looks like something that my kid would make. It looks like a little car. What the fuck you wear? It's like I got called into HR and shit. Like it was a whole thing, bro. I commented on the
like a little pom-poms or something on her shoes.
No, as I just said, it looks like a toy car. What the fuck is this? That's like literally what I said.
Yeah.
I was and then it was, it was I don't remember, but I had to go to training and shit, and the sensitivity training.
Yeah, I feel like you'd be a menace. You'd be the menace in the office.
Luckily, I was blessed. I only had like 2 big jobs after I graduated. One was working for a big fund, this was kind of like it belonged to a big bank, and the fund was kind of like a startup. So the fund itself existed in Europe and had a massive AUM, like $107 billion AUM. Sorry, euros. And when I came in, this was like year 3 or 4 of them trying to build a US operation, like a US entity with US clients, US money, etc., etc. So we were like, I don't know, it's like completely independent, lots of money, and just the craziest people. Like the people I worked with, they were crazier than me by far. There was this one guy there, his name was Tim, and I can't say too much. I don't want to dox Tim. But all I'm gonna say is just his first name. So what he did, one guy who worked, so it was like a trading floor. Okay, so big trading floor, and each managing director, they have like an actual office surrounding the floor. I don't know if you know the structure, the way it works. It's very common at least in the US. So there's offices for MDs, and just like desks where you just sit with with your 2 screens, and et cetera, et cetera. So a big, nice building, 49 and 6th, right on top of New York, and the amazing view. And this guy took a vacation. He was a French guy. He took a vacation with his wife, and he was really like uptight. And he came back, and they lost his luggage, and he was really upset about it. So Tim called up his wife She gave him details about the contents of the luggage. And then we all called him with Tim like making this, because they lost his luggage in Atlanta. So he made the southern accent, and he called like from the airport in Atlanta, going through like the contents of the suitcase and how it's all torn to pieces and shreds. And it's like so at some point I leave the room. I don't remember, because it was like a 45-minute prank. There's not a lot of work was done, as you can see. And at some point I hear David was the guy screaming, "Don't wear it! Do not wear it!" Because he was saying, "Oh, I'm gonna try it on, it looks so nice." Like, "Do not wear this." And at some point I was already out. I just see like everybody in the office just like pouring like a vomit out of mouth out of this conference room, like, and just rolling on the floor with laughter. And him in the other room, and he realizes what just happened, bro. He's like red with fucking sweat and anger. And bro, crazy stories. Like one of the guys who used to work there was a little bit short. So one night the CEO brought in people to lower one of the urinals and put his name tag on it, bro, the next day. Like, it's horrible shit.
That's
it's
brutal,
really
yeah.
Like, it's not cool, but I mean, that sort of thing that was my, God blessed me to work in a place where I was not even close to being the craziest guy, bro.
Yeah.
Thank God, bro. In any other normal place of business, like, I thought this was normal.
That's the issue. Then you go to another job. Yeah.
No, the next job, what happened is that I went to work for one of the big four. So there's like the big four accounting firms, KPMG, PwC, Deloitte. And I went to work for their transactional services department. Basically, I wasn't doing any accounting work, but we're doing a lot of M&A valuations, corporate due diligence, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of deal-based work and a lot of valuations, et cetera, et cetera. So this is a very isolated business. So I was a senior manager. I had my own team. So my only interaction with the partner, who is like head of TS, was basically, "Hey, new deal from Amazon, Google, Facebook, whomever, like blah 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 blah," and that's we just go, we do our thing, and maybe speak twice or three times a week about what the fuck's going on in general, if there's any big updates. So very independent. And then I have a team of crazies like me, again, by sheer luck. But we were really good at our work. So you know what they say, if you're really good at your work, they'll let you get away with certain shit.
Yeah.
So I would roll into work at like 9:45, bro. Like, normal.
Is this all advice, career advice? Be good at your job.
No, it's not career advice.
Rock into. I'll do that on my first day of work now.
Bro, 9:45 was like on the normal arrival time for me. And then I would go. So but would stay late. You know what I mean? Would stay at like 1 a.m., 2 a.m. easy. We wouldn't like, that's the thing. If you come in at 9:45 and you punch out at 5, you know what I mean? And you're just like, "Oh, 5, I got to go home." It's not going to work. But if you basically say, "Okay, I'm a slave anyways, and I'm just going to be here all day," might as well, roll in late, and we're going to pull an all-nighter anyways. Because in due diligence work, there's a crunch. They say, "Oh, in game dev, like when they develop video games, there's a crunch." Bro, game developers don't understand what real crunch is. When you have a deal and there's a due diligence date, and if you miss it and your clients don't have the proper due diligence in time, the whole deal is in jeopardy. There's like, we're talking billions of dollars, not some fucking NBA 2K video game that gets delayed. You know what I mean? This is like people's lives, literally, like deadlines on deals, bro, non-negotiable.
Yeah. I have a friend
non-negotiable, bro.
He said he'd go 9 till 3 a.m. for multiple days in a row. Just
easy, bro. We slept in the office and shit many times. Like, it's non-negotiable, because nobody cares when you come, when you leave. The report has to be ready if you're doing due diligence work, and it has to be fucking good, because if you miss shit, because the idea of like with due diligence work, it's very adversarial. So basically, I'll give you an example how this line of work actually works. You have to be like a bastard to do this shit. So the way this works, there's a misconception. People don't understand like what proper due diligence is. Due diligence is not about really finding out how good or bad the company is, because the motherfuckers already bought it. By the time they're sending you to do this, the deal is already like in place. They already agreed on the price and everything. So what your job is twofold. Number one, find like if there's like Enron level bullshit, you gotta let them know. That almost never happens, because I don't remember even once where we found anything like it was like deal breaking shit. 99.99999% of the time, you're there to give them leverage to Elon themselves to a better price. So you're trying to dig up dirt so they can come in before the closing and say, hey, we found this and this and this and this. We need a reduction in price because this has to reflect all these new exposures, et cetera, et cetera. So you're trying to give ammunition to your client. So there's a lot of adversarial relationships. When you're sitting in a due diligence, it's like it's litigatory. It's litigatory. So it's almost like I can say litigatory. Sorry, it's like the people who represent like sellers and your enemies, because they're trying to hide shit, but they can't not cooperate. And you're trying to dig up shit, but you can't look like an asshole trying to fucking destroy their career. Because so you have to not care about what people think of you. You have to not care what happens to people's jobs. Like, bro, when you lose, you pay the price. Like if you're on the other side of it and they uncovered some shit and your client got fucked, you're gonna pay the price. Your bonus gets fucked. You may lose your job. You may get demoted. Like it's a very ruthless business. Yeah. So you have to be a killer and you have to absolutely not care about destroying other people's lives to do it, which is both things I'm really good at.
And it might just be that it might not be that you're fired, but you just don't get in line for promotions in the future. So you're just stuck at this job doing this, but you can't actually progress as well.
No, I could have gotten promotions. So
not you, but yeah, just other people. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of people who get stuck. I don't know if so the thing is, when you get promoted, the next promotion for me would have been a director. So I was senior manager. I should have been a director and then a partner. So when you go to these level of partnership, there's a hamster wheel. I don't know how to explain to you this. The hamster wheel is basically you're now getting measured not based on your performance, deal per deal, based on annual revenue and annual operational margin. How much headcount you employed to do a certain business. So it's different. And then they give you whatever it is you did on your best year, you're supposed to do 20% more the next year, 20% more the next year, 20% more. And that's how they all fucking die of cancer at age 55, bro. Because this is like just fucking, it's a hamster wheel. It's impossible to win this game. So this is the point where I started figuring out, oh shit, this thing isn't leading to a healthy place for me. It's not like I'm living a healthy lifestyle as it is, bro. I don't need this extra stress. So this is where I just decided to walk out. It had nothing to do with like YouTube and I was actually pretty good at my job, but I just decided this thing is leading to a fucking ulcer for me. I'm getting out.
Well, yeah, that's why you could say we've seen the great resignation, especially in some of those jobs that are high skilled, high paying, because people just, it's not worth killing yourself over a job.
Bro, people think I'm 25, but I'm 40 years old. I'm 41 years old. When I quit, I was 38 or 9. Yeah. It's like, I have 3 kids, bro. I haven't seen them grow up at all by that point. I was like, I don't even know like what they look like. Like, it's like, I see them like once a week, twice a week properly. It's like, this is no life. This is the thought process I had. And so the leaving part was just me saying I'm not gonna do this anymore. Yeah, I've done this for so long, and I have nothing to show for it as far as my own. Like I wasn't happy, and I wasn't spending any time with my kids. I was basically corporate drone. I didn't like it, like a hired gun, so to speak. You know what I mean? A ruthless piece of shit. Nah. Yeah, I don't like the feeling of making rich people richer. I that's it. I'm never gonna do this ever again, ever.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's it gets to the point where, as you said, you may as well focus on yourself and your own work. And I'd prefer to spend that many hours doing my own stuff, even if I'm making less, rather than doing that stuff.
Yep,
we shall see. So you mentioned your sort of process, how you've analyzed it and you found Palantir. Are there any other companies that might not be the same but are sort of showing up in that process? Because I guess the challenge is many of the value companies have most of that, but they're very capital intensive. Many of the tech companies have most of that, but they don't really have pricing power. So are there any others?
Well, this is like finding a woman to marry, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
maybe rarer than that potentially.
Yeah. So it's a hard quest, because I mean you're actually looking for something that's very rare to find. So I'm sure there are other companies. So far for me, the only two that I'm completely like gaga sold on is Palantir and Tesla. That's why those are pretty much the only companies I cover in my videos. I have a few exceptions, but mainly I talk about these two companies because they're just simply the most suited as businesses, not as stocks, for what we have in store, because I think there's much more pain coming. And I think that you can look at a little bit I was trying to take a look at Walmart earlier.
I think with home delivery and transport, they're going to be very effective by inflation.
Walmart have a lot of debt. That's the only problem. They do have a lot of debt, but on any other metric, they seem to be okay. They have a margin issue, not the best of margins, to be honest. You know what I mean? So they might be like where. So you see what the process looks like. So you find one or two things, but the other are not as good.
Yeah, I can think of a company right now that's like AI and grocery shopping. So it basically makes the whole system better, but they have very high debt, close to 100%. So that's a challenge.
And then you look at the company like, oh, let's look at cybersecurity.
Yeah,
but they're all in debt. Maybe a company like Fortinet. I haven't looked at them for a while. I think Fortinet was one of my only picks that panned out ever in my history as a stock picker.
Better than Wish.
Yeah, Wish.
Sorry.
I wish I've never made a video about Wish.
It's all right. I'm the same.
I wish Wish would go away forever and never come back.
Just delete video. No one remembers. Bro.
No, Wish has to stay there as a sign of failure. Let me see. Yeah. Oh wow. So they're net debt neutral. Fortinet. They're in cybersecurity, which actually is very, very non-discretionary. Great margins. Yeah, great margins all around. Nice growth, 30% growth, like clockwork. Yeah, Fortinet might be the one. The one that fits this profile.
Yeah.
EBITDA growth is. Ooh, they went from $95.4 million to $767 million in EBITDA in the last 5 or 6 years.
Wow.
Yeah, great growth. Margins are terrific. Nice. Might be Fortinet. Yeah, might be because like they're not a startup. They're like an old ass company, but they pivoted nicely. And they used to be kind of the dinosaur of the cybersecurity world. So maybe Fortinet might be. I have to research more, but maybe.
Yeah, and that's interesting because, as you said, it's these companies need it, and we've seen it with gas pipes being hacked and all these other things. Yep. It's only going to get worse and worse with all the geopolitical risk happening. So it's important. Yeah, it's important for them to have that. Perfect. So
what
Tom,
else?
Yeah, anything else or?
No, should we sing the Russian anthem before we go?
Okay. No, that's right. I was going to ask one more question. Do you know it?
No, I don't know.
I just know the.
It changed like 17 times in the last 20 years. Like I lose track which one it is now. No, that's the Soviet Union. I think that's isn't it the Soviet? I don't know.
That's movie. That's what I know from Rocky 4.
That sounds like Rocky. A theme music for Doom. The game.
Yeah, I know what you mean. So Tom, we've covered so many topics. Thanks so much for joining the podcast. I guess is there
a blast.
Yeah, so did I. When we went in so many different directions. What is one message I guess that you'd like people to take away from our conversation, if there is one?
Yeah, get the fuck out. It's over. Go home. You can't stay here. You have to go home.
Why are you still here?
Motherfuckers? Go. It's over. Like the video. Share the video. The funniest comment gets $25 from me. Let's see who comments the funniest comment.
Oh, there we go. We've actually got a promotion going as well. If you subscribe and choose, I'll put them in the comments, choose between 5 specific stocks, you'll win the value of the stock. So I think it's ExxonMobil, Spotify, Amazon, Alibaba, and Nike. Whatever stock you choose.
And wish.
Yeah, exactly. You get $1. $1. But yeah, so you win whichever stock you choose. Whoever wins, they get the whole value of that stock.
Don't forget check cup. It's also like I think $1 now.
Oh really?
Yeah, I had a few of them.
We won't joke about Palantir because nah. Sorry, too far.
Blasphemy.
But anyway, guys, thanks again.
Yeah, but if you think about Palantir, think about it as a business. People make the mistake of thinking about it as a stock. Now, look, I dare anybody who says that Palantir was a bad pick, tell me which stocks are up now, my guy, in the past 6 months that are not fucking ExxonMobil and oil. Which stocks are up? It's not like the entire market is normal and Palantir is dropping. It's not Enron. It's not collapsing while the market is okay. It's macro. So think about the business. Would you buy the business or not based on the existing financials? Based on the existing numbers at this price, which means right now they're trading at 6 times sales. At 30% growth and these margins at 6 times sales in a hot industry, bro. Woo, I think I'd buy it.
I think a lot of the sorry, we're still going, but a lot of the stock compensation as well was because they direct listed. Because normally, if you have a normal IPO, that dilute, you can actually have like a stock pool as well.
I made the whole video about it, bro.
Oh, you have?
I made the video, yeah. It's probably titled something clickbaity, like, oh my God, I quit, or like, this is the end, or this is bad. I've never titled videos normally, so I don't know how to find it, but it's somewhere in the sea of clickbait. There's somewhere a video where I explain that Palantir, their share count went from 600 million to 1.8 billion before they went public. People say, oh, they just went from 600 to 2.2 billion. Most of this happened before they went public. This was essentially a split between existing shareholders so they can actually facilitate the fucking DPO so you don't get screwed by the banks in an IPO. They did this for you, motherfuckers. So the only dilution that happened in Palantir was from 1.8 billion to 200 million shares since the DPO. That's in the last 2 years. Not insane. In fact, they haven't issued any stock to the public since they went public. It's just straight up SBC being exercised.
Yeah. And they're probably long-term.
No, I've did the numbers. It's like the dilution is going to be like, what, 3% a year going forward based on the existing SBC.
Okay. Is there a time when it like stops, or is it just?
No, you always have SBC when you get like in tech, when you get new employees.
Yeah.
So, but it just gets smaller and smaller as you get more established and you're not hiring like more senior employees. Kind of, when you set the main bulk of it happened when they set up the sales department. So there's like a massive influx of people. There's big SBC, and Alex Karp and the management have a 10-year plan that expired. They got a new one for the next 10 years. So that created like a bottleneck for the SBC. But you know what? Don't invest. If you don't like this NBC, go invest in CBC, CBS, NBS, NBC, bro, NBA, whatever the fuck you want. Just don't invest. No problem, bro. Why are we even having this conversation? Like, you don't like people say, I never understood people rooting against the stock. This is not a sports team, my guy. Just invest in a different stock. I don't care. This isn't Liverpool against Everton, bro. Nobody gives a shit about what you think about the stock. Just buy it or don't buy it, bro.
Yeah. I hate that as well. People get so attached to these stocks, as you said. They're tribal about these stocks. Anyway, you can keep going forever.
Yes, I can. That's what she said.
Did she really though? Where's Tom's wife? Nah, sorry. We need the evidence. I'm joking.
I can show you, but I have to kill you.
Not what I thought I'd get today. Yeah,
I'll show you mine if you show me yours.
All right, let's go. We've got the Thank you so much for listening, and if you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe and click the bell icon so you are notified when new podcasts are released. I hope you're leaving with some great value about investing, trading, and finance. See you on the next show.